The wedding march had already begun. Guests stood. The string quartet played softly. My father squeezed my hand. Then my sister grabbed my wrist and pulled me behind the velvet curtain leading to the chapel doors. She was smiling. Not the smile of someone happy for her little sister. The smile of someone who believed she'd already destroyed me. She leaned close enough that I could smell her expensive perfume. "He spent the last year at my apartment," she whispered. "Every Tuesday. Every Friday. Sometimes the whole weekend." She laughed quietly. "Enjoy my leftovers at the altar." For a second, the room disappeared. My heart pounded. Not because I believed her, because I knew she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. She stepped back, waiting for tears, waiting for me to run, waiting for the wedding to collapse. Instead, I adjusted my veil, smoothed the wrinkles in my dress, smiled politely. Then I looked her straight in the eyes. "I hope you enjoy the ceremony." She frowned. "What?" I simply turned toward the chapel doors. Behind me, she called, "You're really pretending none of this happened?" I didn't answer. The doors opened. The music swelled. Everyone smiled. My sister folded her arms with absolute confidence. She thought she'd already won. She had no idea someone else would be speaking before the vows. Nobody in that room knew the truth. But that's not where this story began. 3 months earlier, I had always lived in my sister Emma's shadow. Emma was beautiful, charismatic, the loudest person in every room. She loved attention the way flowers loved sunlight. I was quieter, an architect who preferred books over parties and coffee over champagne. When Daniel proposed after 4 wonderful years together, I genuinely believed Emma would finally be happy for me. Instead, she laughed. "Guess somebody actually likes boring girls." Everyone chuckled awkwardly. Daniel squeezed my hand. "It's okay." But it wasn't. From that day forward, Emma treated my engagement like a competition. She criticized my venue, my dress, my flowers, even my engagement ring. "If he'd really loved you," she'd say loudly, "he would have bought something bigger." Whenever I confronted her, she'd shrug. "I'm just being honest. Our parents begged me to ignore her. That's just Emma." Those 3 words had excused her behavior for 30 years. That was their first mistake. As the wedding approached, Emma became even stranger. She constantly borrowed Daniel to help with errands. She posted photos with him online. She hinted that they understood each other better than anyone else. Friends quietly messaged me, "Weren't you worried?" Oddly, I wasn't, because Daniel had already told me everything. Every invitation, every text, every attempt Emma made to get him alone. He never hid a single thing. Remember that detail. It matters later. Still, Emma kept escalating. At my bridal shower, she raised her glass. "Here's hoping marriages last longer than engagements these days." Everyone looked uncomfortable. She smiled proudly. Daniel reached for my hand beneath the table. I simply smiled back. The calmer I remained, the more determined she became. She had no idea what was coming. 2 weeks before the wedding, Daniel came home looking exhausted. "I think your sister's trying to prove something." He showed me dozens of messages, late-night invitations, flirty comments, pictures, voice notes, each one more desperate than the last. Then he showed me the message that changed everything. Emma had invited him to her apartment. She specifically wrote, "Come alone, don't tell her." Daniel looked at me. "What do you want me to do?" I thought carefully. Then I answered with 4 words. "Go, but record everything." His eyebrows lifted. "You sure?" I nodded. "Very." This is where everything changed. Over the next several weeks, Daniel wore a tiny recording device every time Emma insisted on seeing him. She flirted shamelessly. She tried to kiss him. She bragged she'd always gotten whatever she wanted. When he rejected her, she laughed. "It doesn't matter. She'll believe whatever I tell her." That sentence chilled both of us, but it also confirmed exactly who she was. We could have exposed her immediately. Instead, we waited. Because people like Emma never stop digging. Eventually, they bury themselves. The wedding morning finally arrived. Everything was perfect. Until her backstage confession. "He spent the last year at my apartment." She expected panic. Instead, I walked toward the altar. The officiant welcomed everyone. Then I gently raised my hand. "Before we exchange vows, there's someone I'd like to invite forward." Confused whispers filled the chapel. Emma rolled her eyes. "Here comes the dramatic speech," she muttered. The doors opened. A distinguished woman walked slowly toward the front. Most guests recognized her immediately. She wasn't just our family's longtime attorney. She was also the executor of our late grandmother's estate. Emma suddenly looked nervous. The attorney smiled warmly at me, then faced the audience. Emily requested that I address the family before today's ceremony, because recent events involve matters of both truth and inheritance. The room became silent. Emma's confidence cracked. What inheritance? The attorney continued. 6 months ago, your grandmother updated her estate. She left detailed instructions regarding honesty, family integrity, and the future ownership of her charitable foundation. Emma blinked repeatedly. I don't understand. No, the attorney replied calmly. You soon will. Then she looked at me. I nodded. Daniel handed her a small envelope. Inside were transcripts, audio recordings, printed messages, photos, everything. The attorney pressed a button. Emma's own voice echoed through the chapel. I'll make sure she believes you've been with me. Another recording. I've always taken what belonged to her. Another. She'll never know the difference. Gasps filled the room. Someone dropped a program. My mother's hand covered her mouth. My father looked physically ill. Emma turned pale. Those recordings are illegal. Daniel finally spoke. No. Every recording involved conversations I participated in. Silence. Complete silence. Then came the final blow. The attorney opened one final document. Your grandmother specifically stated that any beneficiary found deliberately attempting to destroy another family member through fraud or malicious deception would immediately forfeit their inheritance. Emma stared in disbelief. What? The attorney continued. That forfeited share transfers entirely to the wronged beneficiary. Emma's knees nearly gave out. No. Yes. The charitable foundation, the family vacation home, the investment portfolio, everything. Gone. Because of her own actions. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Emma looked around desperately, looking for someone, anyone, to defend her. No one did. That was her final mistake. She screamed that everyone was against her. She accused Daniel of betrayal. She called me manipulative. But every accusation was answered by another recording, another message, another undeniable piece of evidence. Her lies collapsed one after another. Guests quietly turned away from her. Bridesmaids stepped back. Even our parents couldn't defend what they'd heard. Emma ran from the chapel in tears. No one followed. The officiant looked at me gently. Would you like a few minutes? I smiled. No. I reached for Daniel's hand. Let's get married. The ceremony resumed. This time, without shadows, without lies, without fear. The applause after our vows wasn't just for a wedding. It was for the truth. Months later, Emma tried apologizing through emails, then letters, then mutual friends. But trust isn't rebuilt with words. It's rebuilt with actions. And some bridges burned too completely. Our parents finally admitted they had spent years excusing behavior that should have been confronted. Family counseling began. Slowly, healing followed. As for Daniel and me, we used part of the inheritance exactly as my grandmother intended. We expanded the charitable foundation, funding scholarships for young women pursuing careers in architecture and engineering. Every scholarship carried one simple message: integrity always outlasts manipulation. Sometimes people ask if I regret exposing my sister on what should have been the happiest day of my life. I always give the same answer. I didn't expose her. She exposed herself. I simply gave the truth a microphone, and that made all the difference. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who had no idea who they were dealing with? Tell me your story in the comments.